Alright, so this next video is to go into more detail in regards to your credit bureau, how it works, credit bureau mismatches, credit bureau fraud, and what you can do to prevent it. As I said earlier, both credit review websites or credit report websites have an option to monitor your credit. So what that means is when somebody tries to pull your credit or tries to apply for a credit card or anything, a payday loan, anything online, it's going to tell you first and say, do you approve this? It'll send you an update right to your phone. And that way you have 100% protection. Equifax and TransUnion are the two companies. Alright. However, unless you're really like a millionaire, you know what I mean? If you're a regular guy like me, you probably can't afford this, and there are ways to do it for free. So on my website, which the link is below, for you to get your credit bureau for free, completely free, not like those sites where they say it's free and then they ask for your credit card info. All you have to do is send them this form, and by law they have to provide you a copy of your credit bureau. So you're going to send one to Equifax and you're going to send one to TransUnion. Unfortunately, you're going to have to pay for an envelope and a stamp. Right, sorry, so as I was saying there, Equifax, you send them this form. TransUnion, you send them this form. The link to this exact part of my website is on the description part of the page, and it also has the written information on everything that we're doing over video. So this is what you're going to send them first. If it turns out that there's something wrong, like there's someone else's information on there, there's debts that you've never taken out, these are the forms you're going to need to send them then. You also want to make sure that nothing on your credit bureau is past the statute of limitations. So that means depending on what province you're in, if it's past the statute of limitations, it shouldn't be on your credit bureau. And these, that way you can get it updated as well with these forms. There was something called a collection inquiry, which is where I left off on the last video. Unfortunately, with collection inquiries, anybody can put a collection inquiry on your credit bureau. Happens a lot with parking tickets, tenancy disputes, stuff like that. There's no signed contract in that sense. That's why they have to put it here. So when you get your credit bureau, first thing you're going to look at is the top information here. Is all this correct? Is this your right name? Is this your right address? Is this your right phone number? If you do have collection agencies out there that are harassing you, then maybe you don't want to have the right information, if you know what I'm saying. But anyway, the next section is going to be everywhere you live. It's usually the last 3 addresses. So what collection agencies will do is they'll look, they'll reverse these addresses and see if there's a number listed to the address. Then if they can't find anyone that knows you that way, then what they'll do is they'll try and use your last name in any city that you've been listed as living in, and try and get some of your relatives. The third thing that they're going to do is start contacting employers and try and find information on maybe somebody at one of these companies knew you and they know where you work now, right? Because this person has joint accounts, not only does he have his employer listed on here, it also has his wife's employee listed on here. Unlike the States, in a lot of the states, if you're married, both your debts are owed to both parties. In Canada, it's not like that. If they can't go after your wife or anybody else for your debt, and like I was saying, if they're calling you more than 3 times a week, then they're probably already breaking the law. If they're trying to sue you, if they're threatening to sue you, these are all warning signs. I'm going to show you, they should never yell, they should never harass you and try and force you to pay, never use profanity, they shouldn't threaten to sue you. And really, a lot of collection agencies and collectors treat people the way they do because they know that a lot of people don't know the rules that they have to follow. The good thing is every time a collector calls you, the agency has to record every call. So when you find out about these rules and you file a complaint, that they can pull all the call records and they'll know everything that they've done that they shouldn't have, right? So just to go right back to basics, first thing, if you have collection agencies calling you, print this letter out and send it to them. And make sure it states that you want proof of the debt, the original signed contract and last date of payment. If you don't have a printer or you just like to write it out by hand, I put it down this way. This is the way I would write it. That's a government document off the Government of Canada website. Please accept this letter as my official request that all further correspondence be by mail. That means that they can't call you anymore. Please be advised that failing to comply with this letter is against the Collection Agency Act, but also grounds for a ministry complaint, right? And you let them know that you're sending the letter to the ministry as well, and send it to them. Priority, somewhere where you get some sort of proof that they received it. That way, that if they call you after that they've received that letter, they've already broken the law. On top of that, I've listed the rules for every agency. So there's information for every province on what collection agencies can and can't do. Generally, the rules that we went through above is pretty much universal. The real differences from province to province is like some of them you can call till 9, some of them you can call till 10, stuff like that, right? Some of them you can call the employer, some of them you can only call the employer to leave a message, some of them you can only call the employer to verify employment. It's a good idea to get to find out all the rules for the area that you're in. That way when you file your complaint to the ministry, you've already said, look, they've broken all these rules, right? And when you send your letter out requesting no calls, it's very important that you ask them, I want proof of the debt. So that means you want the original signed contract and the date of last payment. When you have that information, you can find out if the debt's still valid. This list right here tells you whether the debt's valid in your province. And remember, it goes by the date of last payment, not the date that you opened the account. So even if an account's really old and it's already statute of limitations is passed, they're not supposed to be calling you, but they call you and you make a payment on it, that's going to reset it back to day 0. So you really don't want to make a payment unless your plan is to settle it or pay it in full. And you wouldn't, there's no reason for you to do that if it's already past the statute of limitations. That means that that's already not supposed to be collected on. And by making a payment, you reset the date. So don't send them a payment at all. All you're going to do, if they call you, tell them I want all correspondence by mail and then follow up by sending them this letter. You can't print it out. It's written here as well. You can just write it by hand. Send it registered so you have proof when they received it, right? And then I would start keeping track if they're calling you in the meantime. Start keeping track. How many times a day are they calling you? Are they using profanity? Are they being aggressive? All that stuff is stuff that you can complain about. And finally, you get your credit bureau and stuff is wrong. You have someone else's information. There's debt on there that's been disputed. There's a debt that's past the statute of limitations. That's when you'll need these forms. These forms tell the credit bureau, hey, this is not supposed to be on there, or this is a dispute, and they'll update it accordingly. So, again, really, really important. Every time you apply for credit, they're going to send all that information to the collection agency. So, if you ever wonder, you go into Walmart and they say, do you want to apply for a Walmart card? And you say yes. All of a sudden, all these if you had debts that were old, all those collection agencies are going to get sent all your new information and say, oh, look, she is working. She put on her application. She works here. This is her new address. This is her new phone number. And then you're going to have everything start all over again. So it's really, really important to know what's on your credit, if there is anything in bad debt. And if you are wanting to open new credit, don't put exact information, right? Instead of putting the name of the employer, put grocery store Hamilton, right? And with your address and phone number, really, it doesn't matter too much if they have your address and phone number, because as soon as they call you, you're going to tell them you don't want any more calls, and you're going to be sending the letter, right? As soon as they get that letter, they're not allowed to call you anyway. So I just want to go through this a little bit better. So bankruptcy, the reason that this person went bankrupt, they didn't have employment. So when they went bankrupt, they got everything taken care of. I'm going to go over later on what's better, to go bankrupt or to pay these debts, or credit cards and companies. There's a lot of scams out there, so I really want you to know everything that's going on. So this person, they paid this debt in 92. In 93, they included this debt in their bankruptcy, and whatever else was included in their bankruptcy is already gone. Generally, a bankruptcy is going to stay on their credit bureau for 10 years, so it wouldn't have fallen off until 2003. But as you can see here, even though they had a bankruptcy, they're still able to start building credit. Even if you have bad debt, there's ways you can start building credit, and I'll go through that with you. Really, the first step is a secured credit card or a secured line of credit, and what that means is you go to the bank and you put down $1,000 or $500 or even $100, whatever you can put down, and that goes into a savings account, right? They hold that as security, and they give you a credit card for $100. They only allowed to hold the money in the security account for a year. So at the end of the year, let's say if you'd done a $1,000 one, you'd get your $1,000 back, and you'd have a credit card for $1,000. And as long as you're making your payments on time and everything's good, they'll keep increasing the balance for you every 6 months or every year. It's not hard to rebuild credit. I'll talk to you how to do that. Don't feel like there's a lot of times people will pay these collection agencies for 10 years, right? And they're not any better off, because once it hits collections, it's already done damage to your credit. And you making payments is doing almost nothing to help you. And if it's already past the statute of limitations, you're actually resetting it. This is the end of this video.